Hey there viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. So we do have Mrs.O's 2019 Kia Sedona in here. It's got the big 3.3 GDI in it. Car's got just a little over 1,000 miles on it. I want to do its first oil change. Now this is always a very controversial topic, you know, break in or don't break in, yada yada. Personal preference, I guess. It's always been my habit on a brand new engine, usually somewhere between 600 and 1,000 miles. I like to just get the factory oil out, or if you rebuilt the engine, whatever oil, break-in oil you had in it, where the rings are seating and everything. And you got a lot of components in the engine that, I don't want to say wear break-in, so to speak. We won't get too in-depth into that. Now, when I did look onto the owner's manual on this, Kia only recommends 600 miles for break-in. They say nothing about, replacing the oil, but they give certain driving criteria they would like you to do in the first 600 miles, no towing, no full throttle acceleration, basically don't let me drive it, that type of stuff. So like I said, we're around 1,000, maybe 1,100 miles, something like that. Oil's cheap. I'm gonna do a spill and fill on it, look the van over, check out some things on it. It's the first time I've ever actually driven it, was to bring it in here. So let's get started. So I already have it fully warmed up. I guess we can pop this little guy off, have a look under there. All its kibbles and bits anyways. 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. Pretty nice. Not my problem for quite a while, it sounds like. So this is their GDI engine. Never even looked under the hood of this little guy. First time for me, first time for you. So this must be the high pressure fuel pump. I see they got a little rubber foam cover over it. Must be to reduce noise. Anyhow, I pulled the oil cap off. Let's go under it, get it draining. Filter must be underneath. I ordered some filters right from Kia, so we don't have to worry about any kind of warranty issue. So usually, first time oil change, I like to put into a bucket, just so we can see the amount of metal fragments in it. Usually your first timer, it can be kind of concerning. In some cases, you look at it and it can be kind of sparkly. I get my bucket ready. Oh, am I gonna make a mess or what? Oh, there we go. I guess while we're letting that dribble, we will crack the filter loose, which is conveniently located right here. We'll get it loose enough where we can grab it by hand. Another small bucket we'll dump that baby into. In case any part numbers fall out with it. Hopefully not. Oh, that's interesting. So I did see a little divot in the bottom of that housing, and that's pretty cool. It allows you to actually drain it before you pull it out. Stick that in there, we'll let her drip. Now we got that dribble on over there. We'll have a look at the filter. We'll have a look at the oil that came out of the housing. Now I don't know how good this is going to pick up on camera. Whoops. Let's see. Oh yeah, she is glitter. As they typically are. Let me see if I can adjust stuff here. Like I said, I don't know how well this will represent on the camera. But maybe you guys can see. You probably can't. But you'll get like the gray streaks through it. It is a fair amount of glitter, which is to be expected. Don't get alarmed, especially on, break-in oil. Let's see. Try to do it where you're not getting the reflection of the LEDs in there. I have no idea if it'll show up until. Let's see if I can hold it here. You get the gray streaks through it. This is the oil out of the oil filter housing. But she's pretty glittery. Like I say, this is, you know, the main reason that I like to do, you know, the break-in oil. I would love to know what your guys' thoughts are on it in the comment box below. Leave what your habit is to do on a new engine, whether it's a new car you purchase or, you know, an engine you rebuild. I don't know if we can cut that sucker open or not. Get the O-ring off there because we got a new one of those. Hopefully it comes in with the filter. Let's see if we can get this baby sliced open. See if we can do it without cutting our finger off. Got a hard plastic interior. Of course, it's looks like plastic up across the top too, maybe. Might have to get some chompers. Let's just see if that'll separate. I think it will. I don't know what we'll see, but who knows? Maybe something interesting. There's the centerpiece. Of course, your oil comes from the outside in most cases. Let's see if we can peel the top thing off here. Baby's made like a ram. It's a male, M-A-H-L-E, male filter. Must be the OEM maker. Tell you what, just see if we can go like this. Always cut towards your buddy, not your body. There we go. Let's look at the dirty side, see if there's anything worth looking at. See a few little metal sparkles in there. So the filter did its job. Other little metal particles in there. Like I say, totally to be expected. Even a hair. I don't know if it sucked that up. Definitely has caught some debris though, I'll tell you that. Which is what we'd expect from our filter. Doing its job. Ah, how savage. Oh yeah, all kinds of kibbles and bits in there. How oddly satisfying. So there's all that. So it's kind of interesting. Called down to get the filters, Kia dealer, not the one we bought it from, but the one we buy our parts from, and they only had 3 in stock. Oh gosh, almost forgot. Clean out the housing in case there's anything hiding up in there. So it's pretty neat. You see how they cut the holes in the threads there? That allows it so when we started to take it out, once we get past the O-ring, the oil will actually drip through those holes and come out that little drain in the bottom. It's pretty unique. Most of these things you take off and it's just stand back and catch. Unless it's Toyota, then they have like an overly complicated, you know, drain in the bottom of it you're supposed to pull out first, which, you know, nobody ever does. Genuine Kia. Made in Korea. That's how you know it's legit. And it does come with an O-ring. They're super cheap to buy through Kia, and you get the oil pan drain plug washer with it. I think these are cheaper than the majority of aftermarket filters. And the beauty of it is you don't have to worry about warranty issues. You know, if you use their filter, what can go wrong? There's that damn compressor again. Wait a god dang minute here. Oh, there we go. Push it on and she clicks in. The opening looked smaller, but apparently that's part of the locking procedure. I just push it in and it clicks. Well, that's good. Just to be safe, we'll use some genuine Toyota rubber grease. Now you can use just engine oil on the O-ring, which would be just fine. Rubber grease, Sil Glide, you know, anything you have. Brake caliper grease probably. There, fancy. Can you guys see right there? So that's that little divot I was talking about that allows the housing to drain. And interestingly enough, it has a very small divot at the top, so I don't know if that's to, you know, let air in so it doesn't, or I guess to allow it to flow a little better. Now that whole housing is just plastic. I see it has a little bit of movement to it, you know, like when I was taking it off. It is also interesting that its position and where it is. I don't know how vulnerable, that is a bad spot, how vulnerable it is to, you know, attacks from the road debris. You know, if you were to curb this thing, I don't know, we'll have to see it because I think it hangs down a smidge lower than the oil pan. Maybe not. It's definitely above the subframe, so we'll take and put this on to 35 Newton meters, it says. There, perfect. So just looking at it, boy, it's got to be pretty dang close. Let me get it straight again here. So yeah, it's just about, just a smidge above the oil pan. So I suppose if you're going to whack something, unless it's special circumstances where it hits, you know, directly on there, I would think if you curbed it, you might hit the exhaust pipe first, oil pan, you know, something like that. Because the way the subframe is a lot like Chrysler's, like old, you know, PT Cruisers and stuff, where you have just the subframe in the back half, really nothing in the front, you know, as far as an engine cradle coming around towards the front half, everything's in the back, which is always kind of nice when you got to do like a rack and pinion, something like that, because you can usually drop these rear cradles really easy. Not that I really intend on doing that, but I'll swap out our aluminum crush washer. Wipe its nose here a little bit, make sure there's no dirt stuck there. So yeah, I'll be curious to see what the comments say about braking oil, what your guys' thoughts is on it. My thought, I almost look at it from a common sense type standpoint, you know, clearly, you know, the filter is contaminated, it has, you know, metal and junk on it. Looking at the oil, you know, it clearly has, you know, contamination in it. So why wouldn't it be, you know, a good idea just to get it out? Because I think I bought the oil, I think it's like 28 bucks, filters a few dollars. You know, this is less than a, you know, less than 35 bucks to do this, and pretty cheap insurance. The big question, what oil is he going to put in it? Mobil 1. I run this in everything, at least everything I own, on the exception of my Jeep and my tractor and my lawnmower and the wood splitter. Other than that, everything I own, I run Mobil 1 in. Now the oil spec on this, and I called Kia, and to get the oil filter, I was just going to buy their oil. I don't know who makes their oil. Did a little research, didn't find anything definitive. The only thing I could find definitive is the oil spec. Now I asked Kia what they use at the dealership, and all I got from 3 dealerships I called is bulk oil. They couldn't tell me what brand it was, what the spec was on it, is other than one of them said it was synthetic, the other dealership said it was semi-synthetic, you know, for whatever that means. In either case, this engine calls for an acea A5 spec. So it's a European spec, the acea, which if we look on this jug, right here, the AC, whoa, can't even see, the acea A5 and B5. The A5 is for petrol, the B5 is for diesel, and the acea, I can't pronounce it, it's the Association des Constructeurs Européens d'Automobiles, and it represents the interest of European vehicle manufacturers within Europe. So it's a European oil spec. Mobil 1 covers it. I'm going to use it, the 5W30. Got to use a funnel. Lick the cobwebs out of it first. Looks good. I'll stick that on there. She gonna hold? Should. I think it takes about 6 quarts. We'll crack open a fresh one here. Make sure when you're taking the foil off top, I know you can't see what I'm doing right now, but there's a foil ring up there. Make sure you take it off. Don't just jam your finger through it and hope none of it falls into oil. I had one case where I fixed the lady's Mitsubishi. It was an Outlander Sport. I think I had the V, well, I know I had the V6 in it. I think they're a 3-liter. And the back bank, all of the lifters were rattling. I mean, rattling like crazy. And the lady had bought the car used, and the guy she bought it from, this thing had like 100-some thousand miles on it. He claimed that that engine has made that noise ever since he owned it. You know, all you have to do is put in some Lucas and, you know, drive it, and it's never caused any problems. So she drove it that way for a while, and one time she brought it in for an oil change. I always had her thing of Lucas with her. And I asked her if I could look at the problem, because I told her that noise was not normal. And I told her if I couldn't fix it or couldn't diagnose it, I wasn't going to charge her. So, of course, she agreed to it. Long story short, pulled the intake, pulled the rear valve cover, and that thing was drier than a popcorn fart. I mean, there was nothing under that valve cover. So I put the intake back on, left the valve cover off, started the car, and there was just the tiniest bit of oil dribbling out of the end of each cam follower. Just enough to keep the engine alive back there without, you know, completely destroying it. Long story short again, I pulled the intake back off, I pulled the rocker arm shafts off back there, and when I pulled it up, the oil port coming from the head to the rocker shaft had a piece of that foil in it. There was a little teeny tiny piece of foil in there. How it got through the pump past the filter, I have no idea, but it was 100% that's what was in it. So I reached in there with a little pick, I pulled that piece out, stuck the rocker shaft back together, engine was dead quiet. I started it up with the valve cover off again, against my better judgment, made a huge mess, and long story short again, all said and done, only ended up putting one lifter assembly in that car. Because it was almost more annoying when I was done with it, because it just had a single tick instead of sounding like, you know, marbles in a can. It would just tick, 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 tick. So then I had to identify which cylinder that was and replace just that one. So worked out good for her. So let's see where we're at. That was 5 quarts. Just to make sure our service info is correct. I think it said 6.01. So that puts us right there, right between full and low. Of course, it's going to go into the filter housing, so we'll dump a little bit more in there. Anyhow, let that be a lesson to you with your foil lid on top of your oil. This thing, that's what I'm talking about. Let's see where we're at now. I do notice, like, as GDI engines are starting to frequent the shop more, they're noisy. You know, you hear a lot more ticking and stuff under the hood, and you know, I assume it's the, you know, the high pressure oil pump, the injectors. They just seem a little bit more clattery than older engines, I guess, in general. All right, so right now we're down at the low mark. I'm going to let it sit for just a little bit, then I'm going to adjust the level so it's proper. Some engines, particularly on Fords, I notice, like, you know, if they call for 6 quart, you put 6 quarts in it, they're all the way at the low mark, you let it sit for 20 minutes, and it's, you know, right where it needs to be. So we'll give this some time for the oil to drain back down and then make some adjustments. But yeah, right now she's down at the low mark. So here's one thing I found interesting on this car. Let it go through its system check. Is Kia says every, I think it's 7,500 miles under, normal service intervals. Our conditions are what are considered extreme. They're short trips, huge temperature variances. Where like today it's 6 degrees out. This morning it was -6, and then the next day it might be 50. We drive a lot of dirt roads, dusty roads, short trip driving. So their severe interval is every 3,750 miles, what they want for a severe. But what I found kind of interesting, let's see here, get to the right menu, is we will get down to the service interval, which is kind of neat. You can take and adjust your service interval to put in whatever you want. I've got it set at 3,500 because even though they want it done at 3,750, they don't give you the option to change the 10 spots. So I figured the light will come on at 3,500, she'll tell me, and then eventually I'll do it. It'll be close to 3,750-ish. So that's it, folks. Interested in seeing your comments in the comment box down below on what you think about break-in oil, new engines, engine rebuild, what your thoughts are in there, what your habits are. Me, personally, not scientific, just cheap insurance. The engine's breaking in, there's a lot of debris floating in there. I certainly don't want it to go, the 3,500 miles, 3,750, the 7,500 miles, the 5,000, whatever, your Kia dealer recommends that you go, or, whatever kind of vehicle you're driving. With the price of oil, the price of filters, it is just cheap to do it. Now, I know in the comments, people are going to go bananas that I change Mobil 1 full synthetic at 3,500 miles. That's just my thing. I've actually been to discussion in some forums because I'd mentioned that I do that I change the oil in my truck at 5,000. And of course I use full synthetic in that. The people went like off the deep end. It was hilarious. These people that will drive and take their oil like to the limit, to go to the, 20,000 mile interval. To me, I don't know, it's ridiculous. It's a few bucks. I mean, you'd have thought I killed a unicorn or something, the way they were talking about me, but whatever, personal preference. I've never had to put an engine in my vehicles. That's the interval that I follow. It is what it is. Go down there, leave your comments, questions, and criticisms, of course. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.